Hey everybody, we're here to do some manual muscle testing. We're going to start with the shoulder joint. In your handout, your lab handout, it shows you your muscle grades. So we have to know our muscle grading system in order to carry out an MMT. Note that after you know your description and how to use your grades, you need to go over each muscle in your handout and know how to perform for each muscle against gravity position and gravity minimized position. So on your third page, you will see where it starts the shoulder joint. We're going to skip over shoulder girdle and start with the shoulder joint. So I want you to follow along also in your book. We have the page numbers already here for you to look at the pictures as well as the video, to learn all the hand positions for therapists, and of course the motions for the patient. So Shannon here is going to be my patient for the day, and we're going to start with anterior deltoid. So the first thing I want to do when I'm testing a muscle is to, of course, introduce myself to the patient, and she knows who I am, and to tell her that we're going to test the strength in her right shoulder muscles. So I'm going to do anterior deltoid, and the first thing I'm going to show her is the motion that I would like for her to perform. So if I want to be here in the side view, I'm going to do, let me go over here, the motion that I would like for her to do, she does it, okay? This is considered a 3 out of 5 muscle grade right now because she can fight gravity all by herself, okay? If you thought the patient could not, let's say there were 2+ or 3- out of 5 muscle grade and they could not fight gravity, you would simply take their arm. Okay, so I'm going to move it for you, Shannon. So this is the motion that I would like for you to do. Okay, keeping neutral shoulder, and you're going to bring it all the way down by the side. So make sure you get full range of motion when you ask them to do motion. So after I ask her to do that motion for me one more time, and as I'm watching her, I'm looking at the whole shoulder joint and making sure that I can see the motion completely and how the scapula is moving as well. So that would be a 3 out of 5. The next thing I would do to really test the grade of a muscle, obviously if it was a 2+, it would go initiate against gravity, and a 3- would be halfway. So the next thing is the break test. I really want to see how much the muscle gives me. I'm going to stabilize her opposite shoulder. So you see my hand on her left shoulder here, and I'm going to ask her to bring it up part way here. So halfway is where we do the manual muscle test. I'm going to say, don't move your arm, Shannon. Hold it there, and I'm going to give her minimum, moderate, and maximum pressure, okay, for the resistance. So if she doesn't break, if she doesn't move, if she doesn't drop, she's going to be a 5 out of 5, which is normal, okay? So you ready to test it, really test it? So let's see, Shannon. Ready? Hold it. That's minimum, moderate, and maximum, and she's strong. I'll probably give her a 4+ because she wobbled just a little bit, which is near maximal resistance. She broke just a little bit, so 4+ out of 5. What is that grade and how is it described? That's how you would chart the anterior deltoid. Right anterior deltoid would be a 4+ out of 5, and that would be it. We have reached the muscle grade of the patient. Okay, so that was just the anterior deltoid. I'm going to do another sitting muscle because in the interest of time, not to go back and forth to the plinth, I want to make sure I can do as many in one clip as I can. So the next one I'm going to do is the middle deltoid against gravity. So now what I'd like for her to do, I'm going to show her. She's never done it before, so this is the motion. It's out to the side and back down. Okay? So now I'm going to ask her to do that motion. I'm going to watch her do it and see if it's in its entirety. Good. So she's all the way. Great. So now I know again she's a 3 out of 5, which is a fair. And now I'm going to do the break test. So it's the same position as the opposite shoulder for stabilization. She's going to come meet my hand. Don't let me push you down. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Okay, great. So now that she knows what to expect, I could just go ahead and tell her to hold it, hold it, hold it. And that gives me my little cue of my min, mod, max, graded pressure moving through my hands as I resist. And then gives her an opportunity for her muscle to respond, to see if it's strong enough to withstand the resistance. She She didn't break that time, so I'm going to say she's a 5 out of 5. That would be normal strength. Okay? All right, great. So we did 2 muscles so far against gravity. Okay, so think about those gravity minimized positions, and we'll get back to you soon on the plinth. So the next one I want to do that can be done in sitting is going to be, so I'm going to lift her arm into position. This is a gravity minimized position, so she would not be able to fight gravity. So when we go across and horizontally adduct, it's pectoralis major. So with our pectoralis major, if she was not able to move against gravity, and I wasn't sure if she could even contract the muscle at all, I would have to palpate. So I'd have to palpate the front of her shoulder on her pec, get away from that anterior deltoid, so you want to go a little bit more medial, and you're going to ask the patient, we're going to start back, and so we can do full range of motion. I'm going to ask her to do the motion I just showed her, and see if that muscle is contracting while she's, and if so, she'll be able to do it. So go ahead and do that motion. And I'm supporting her. So palpation and support is what you want to write down for this muscle, because right now we're in the gravity minimized position for pec major. So she just completed that motion, and that means that she is a 2 out of 5. So full range of motion, gravity minimized, she just completed. So my next step is to give her some resistance. So now I'm going to ask her, there you go. Now I'm going to ask her, I'm anterior on the humerus here, and I always want to be just distal to the joint that's moving. We don't want to cross 2 joints. So that's another kind of rule of thumb. So I'm going to ask you to do that again, Shannon. And I'm giving her resistance. I'm still supporting, and see if she can go all the way across. Okay, so she can do full range of motion. Great. Thank you. I'm going to set her down. You want to be really gentle with people that are very weak in their musculature to be fully supported at all times. So that was pec major. All right, and she just completed a 2+ because she took minimal resistance throughout the range, and she completed the range, so she's considered a 2+. Now, if we were moving up to see if she was stronger, I would take her against gravity, which would be supine, so we're not going to do that just yet. Okay, the next muscle I want to do is posterior deltoid, so it's posterior in her shoulder, and just turn it just a bit. All right, so everybody can get a better view. So right here would be my palpation. So I'm going to ask her if I can go ahead and show her the motion again. And so for now, she's going from here all the way back as far as she can. Okay, so we're going to start here. I showed her the motion. I'm going to palpate, and she's going to pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back. Great. Okay, so now she's a 2. So the next thing I would have to do is apply resistance. Posterior humerus is where I'm going to apply the resistance. So she's going to push, 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 push. There we go. And she's a 2+. And I'm going to put her arm down. So again, she would go against gravity after this. And we would document at whatever grade she may have had the brake test done and she dropped. Okay? So gravity minimized posterior delt. So we've done pec, and we've done posterior deltoid, gravity minimized. We've done anterior deltoid and middle deltoid. The next I'd like to do in seated position is infraspinatus teres minor and subscapularis. So here's where the patient needs a towel. Okay. So when we do rotations, we always want to keep the shoulder neutral. I'm going to put a towel and have you just squeeze that. Okay. So when we're doing external rotation, if I'm going to support her, I'm going to be seated next to her, but I'm on the chair at the moment, so I'm going to bring her out to the side and back. Okay, let me just fix that towel so it's not in the picture so much. Okay, good. She's going to squeeze here, and I'm going to support her. This is gravity minimized position for external rotation. I'm going to start her in internal rotation, and she's going to come out, and I'm going to have her do the motion, and I'm supporting her. And come back. Okay. So for external rotation, all the way from in to external, that's your infraspinatus teres. Now we can palpate. Actually, let me just, sorry, move. So if I'm palpating here, okay, now I'm supporting. I'm asking her to do that motion I just showed her, and now she comes out and does a 2. when I want to add resistance, I don't have to palpate anymore, but I can add resistance to the forearm. So as she comes out, I'm adding some resistance. Come on out. Excellent. Okay, so that would be your infraspinatus, teres minor. For subscapularis, we're coming from out to in. Okay, so internal rotation. So now I'm still supporting her. I'm not going to palpate because it's very hard to do. It's deep within that underside of the scapula, so no palpation here. And I'm just going to have her do the motion as I support, and she does internal rotation. And then for me to add resistance, it's just on the forearm, medial side now, and I'm just having her pull all the way in, and she's a 2+. Great. Yay. Thanks, Shannon. Let's see if we could do any more. Seated position. Okay, that's it for now. Actually, let's do supraspinatus. Supraspinatus is a different muscle. We're not having any 2+ grade here. Okay. And 2- and a 1 are very similar. But scaption is the plane, so I'm going to take her through the motion that I would like for her to do. So that's scaption. Okay, so it's not quite in front, it's not quite out to the side. It's kind of at that 45-degree angle. And so I'm going to ask her to do that motion for a 3. And she goes all the way up as far as she can, and she's going to come down, and that's a 3. And then, of course, the break test is the same. So I'm going to have her meet my hand, and don't let me push you down, Shannon. So, and here I am on the humerus again. Don't let me push you down, mid-mod max resistance. She wavers a little bit, so she's a 4+. Perfect. Okay. For this, you have only one position, so we can complete this muscle and do gravity minimized. So if I want to do, let's say she was not able to lift against gravity. She was either a 2+, 2-, which we can't quite differentiate here, so we're just going to have you do this one method of having the patient hold their position when you remove the support. So if they can hold it, just as so it's 1, 2, 3, and they can hold it, then they are a 2 out of 5 muscle grade. Now, if she couldn't hold it up, go ahead and drop a little bit, and she drops. If I remove my support and she drops, then she's going to that 2- position, or that, I'm sorry, the 2- or the 1 out of 5. So when she does that, I have to make sure that I am palpating to see if that muscle is working. Because if the muscle is not working, it's going to be a 0. Okay? So I'm going to ask her to do that one more time so we can see completely. I am palpating in that supraspinous fossa and the supraspinatus muscle, and I'm going to ask her to hold that position, and she's a 2 because she did not drop. If I ask her to do it and she drops into my hand, okay, she's a 2- or a 1. If I feel the muscle actually work. If I don't feel the muscle actually work, then she's a 0. She obviously cannot hold a position and she's dropping. So that would be supraspinatus in its entirety. Okay, I think we'll take a break here. Stay tuned.